All right. Hey, good morning. This is just going to be quick in terms of an update. As you know, the update on immigration rules as they change. And every day, as you already are aware, that there are changes. There are lots and lots of changes, and people have been panicking over the past at least close to a year. People have been panicking, and for good reasons. And sometimes I say to folks who come through to Benchop Immigration Consultancy that let not your heart be troubled. In a sense, people sometimes panic, and for good reasons, and sometimes unnecessarily, people would panic. But it's human nature to panic. We all do panic at times, and I've just decided that maybe we should talk for a few minutes about these recent updates and how it affects you. If you have a petition in the system, or if you are planning on petitioning for a relative, be it a wife, a mother, a father, or a child. So I just needed to go through a few things with you guys. And if you so wish to ask a few questions online, I'm here to respond to your questions directly as it pertains to family-based petitions, as it pertains to maybe your citizenship applications or whatever you may have, asylum applications. There wouldn't be any um, personal cases mentioned for obvious reasons. However, we are dealing strictly with the policies of USCIS. So one of the things recently, and some folks have been asking us, it's pertained to this here. The US have published a list of countries for those who are applying for non-immigrant visas. And non-immigrant visas, of course, the bulk of those non-immigrant visas that we're familiar with, but there are others. The non-immigrant visas are the B1, B2 visitors visas. And folks have been asking, and rightly so, the question as to whether, reading some messages coming through, as to whether it has an impact on Guyana. And we do have some cases from Jamaica and other parts of the Caribbean as well. And even as far as Africa, we have had some folks who have used our services at Benchap Immigration Consultancy. And just to have you know that I am just basically giving you what the policies of USCIS are. And this is in no way advising you how to go about doing your case. What we do is we tell you what the policies are, and if you are going to apply, we tell you what to expect. And there are times that we take our time to get your applications processed. So that is what we do at Benchap Consultancy. We are not here to advise you on personal immigration matters. Again, just to reiterate that we are telling you what the policies are. And that's what we go by. The final decision is up to you as to whether you wish to proceed or not. Now, let's begin with the USCIS update. The USCIS update on the visitor's visa. And some folks have been panicking. As it pertains to the question of the visitor's visa. And they usually call and they say, hey, Mark, does it apply to Guyana? It does not apply to Guyana. The 15,000 bond that you have to deposit for a visitor's visa. Let me say that, and let me say good morning to all of you. This is not a political program. Sorry, it's just an immigration update, and this is what it's about, an immigration update. We want to ensure that people do not panic. We do not want people to panic. So if you apply for a US visa, a visitor's visa that is, because there are different categories of visas, as some of you may know. If you apply for a visitor's visa, let's say in Guyana, and the question is, do you have to pay $15,000? Do you have to lodge $15,000 before you get that visa? If you are issued that visa, mind you, you don't have to lodge the $15,000 before a visa is issued. And again, let me just state that the $15,000 lodging for visitor's visa is not at this moment applicable to Guyana. I'm not sure that it's applicable to any country in the Caribbean or any country, maybe one or two countries in South America, but it is not applicable to Guyana at this time. And I suppose the majority of our listeners are Guyanese, but it's not applicable. I haven't seen any evidence that it's applicable to Jamaica, to Barbados, to Trinidad and Tobago, to Antigua, or so forth and so on. It is not applicable to those countries. And so those of you in those countries, Guyana and other countries that I've just mentioned, there is no need to panic at this moment. If you are going to go to and apply for a visitor's visa to come to the United States of America, and you're in Guyana right now, There is nothing that you have to do to panic about. The 15,000 to lodge before you travel is not applicable at this point in time to Guyana. So you can go in, you can apply for your visa without worrying about where you're going to find that $15,000 from, especially in that little Dubai, right? Oil rich country. 15,000, it's a heck of a lot, but it's not applicable to you in Guyana, at least not now. And it's a trial something that USCIS under the Trump administration, as they have stated, it's just a trial something. It's applicable maybe to Mawali, what is it, some other one or two African countries. That's it for now. And here is the thing. Once you go in, those countries, not Guyana, again, I repeat, don't let the rumor mill run. Don't let the rumor mill run at all. Do not. People are beginning to panic, especially about this $15,000 stuff. It's not applicable at all. Don't listen to the TikTokers, some TikTokers. You can listen to whoever you want to listen to, don't get me wrong, but do not run away with rumors. It's not applicable to Guyana at this time. I'm not sure that it's going to become applicable, but these days, you never know. Now, one of the changes with visitors' visas, though, in Guyana, not just Guyana, but across the globe, if you're going to, in the past, they had certain folks who were not, or sorry, if folks can just message me online, I can read your message instead of texting. Sorry. So there were folks who were not allowed to go in for interviews and so forth if they're under a particular age, maybe under 18, under 17, or under 10 or whatever, or they're over the age of, let's say, 80, 75 or 80, like Golly God and those folks, older folks watching, then you didn't have to take them in for an interview. What USCIS changes are saying now is all applicants, every single applicant for a non-immigrant visa have to go in for an interview. There's no waiver. The interview is no longer waived. You have to go in for an interview. The other set of people that have to go in for an interview for non-immigrant visa, visitor's visa, specifically referencing, is, say, for example, you have a visitor's visa that is about to expire. You'll have to go in for that interview. In the past, the interview, in most cases, have been waived. And so you just hand your passports in, and they just, if they renew it, obviously you hand your passport in, they renew it, they stamp, they give you a new visa, and that's it, without an interview. Again, that is no longer the case. All applicants have to go in for an interview. All, whether you're young, whether you're middle-aged like some of us, or whether you're old like Golly God and Never Trust Son of Man, King of James. I'm looking at some of the names here. So all applicants have to go in for an interview for their visitors' visas. Again, the $15,000 that you have to lodge is not applicable to Guyana or any country in the Caribbean, at least not at this point in time. So I just thought that I calm some of you down. Do not panic. Do not listen to the rumor mills and these sort of things. Do not run around on TikTok and listen to this body said this body said this, some relative said this. So it will just give you guys headaches, right? And I just want to, we at Ben Sharp Immigration Consultancy, we want to avoid you guys getting headaches and panicking. Remember when Trump just took office, there was a lot of panicking and all these things. We continue to say to you, remain calm. As long as you do the right thing, you follow the rules, you follow the laws, you have nothing to worry about. That's all we keep saying. The law is the law. Now, let's go over to something else. that we want to bring to your attention that a lot of folks have been calling us about, which is the married immigrants trying to get green cards could be deported. New Trump era guidance says. Now, USCIS law, the immigration law, permits, let us say, if a husband or a wife, a US citizen, could petition for his wife or her husband, even if that person is in the United States of America. They can petition for what is called an adjustment of status. It is still the law. Nothing has changed. I repeat, if you have a husband and you are a US citizen, you can still petition for your husband if he is in the United States of America and he came through the proper route, which is he came on a visitor's visa. He came on a visitor's visa and decided to stay. You can still petition for your husband or your wife. That has not changed. Do not panic. It has not changed. What the Trump era guidance is saying is they will scrutinize every single petition. And here we go. Every single petition they will scrutinize. And the reason that they are doing that is because, well, a variety of reasons. But one is since January of this year, they have almost 2 million new applicants of marriage-based petitions. Over 2 million. Now, let me break it down for you and what the Trump administration is saying. And they're not saying that if you have a petition and or you want to petition for your loved ones, that you cannot. They're not saying that. You can still do that. However, here's where the scrutiny comes. And let's go back to, if you have a marriage petition that is currently awaiting some sort of decision or is pending, same thing, pending, they will scrutinize to ensure that it's a legitimate petition. They want all petitions must be almost perfect. They do not want to, because they feel that every time they send back for more information or a petition may look iffy, sufficient evidence has not been provided, or they see that there are some question marks or maybe a few question marks in those petitions, they can reject or deny the entire application. What they're looking for, mind you, is immigration fraud, marriage fraud. They're looking for that. And most of these officers are experienced to actually see red flags, to detect red flags. And so when you're sending your applications in, whoever is doing your applications, whether it's a law firm, whether it's immigration consultants, as in the case we operate Ben Shop Consultancy. And mind you, we take our time with people's applications. It doesn't matter if it takes 2 days, 3 days, a week. What we say to our clients, do not rush the applications in. When you rush an application in, while we understand the circumstances that you want an application in the system, hoping that having an application in the system can somewhat save you in the event, or save an individual in the event that ICE pulls up on them. Now, we do not want ICE to pull up on anyone. Not a single person we want ICE to pull up on. And so what they are saying, this new policy, is they are going to try to identify those fraudulent petitions, those petitions that appears to be fraudulent as well, They are going to be looking at these sort of things. And that is why some of you may have cause for concern, because you may run away with the idea that this is about all petitions. Well, truthfully, all petitions will be scrutinized as they have been. So nothing has changed. Really, nothing has changed. What the Trump administration is basically saying to is, look, get your petitions in order. Make sure that your marriage is a bona fide marriage. Nothing has changed about that as well. In the past, maybe you had to submit not much evidence to prove beyond reasonable doubt that your marriage is bona fide. They're looking for all sorts of evidence, such as, apart from you got to have a marriage certificate to submit as well. You have to have other evidence to submit, such as to show that there is a real connection, a genuine connection between you and your spouse, such as you have bank accounts together, insurance, and all these sort of things. They're looking for those sort of evidence to connect the dots and to see that it is a bona fide marriage. They want to see that you guys are living home together, the same address. And that is why when you go in for an interview, they ask these questions. Sometimes they ask questions that may come across personal. They ask, what's the color of your bedroom? They ask, what's the color of your bed? They ask whether you have a rug or you have a whatever in your bedroom. They ask bedroom matters, bedroom questions. That is what they ask, bedroom questions. And so some people might think that that is personal. Some people might say that that is personal, right? It's not personal. They want to find out whether the marriage is bona fide or not. I've had clients who called me and say they never realized that these people really do ask personal questions. They asked a client of mine, husband and wife clients, when was the first time they made love and where? That question caught the people off guard, like, wow, really? They ask questions such as, are you guys planning on making kids in the future, having kids in the future? All these sort of things. They ask, what's your husband's favorite food? They ask, what's your wife's favorite food? They ask, what did your wife wear to bed last night? All these things they ask. It may come as a surprise to some of you. And that is why we say to some of our clients, be prepared. You've got to know your wife. You've got to know your husband. You cannot go to an interview, sit there, and they ask, what day did you guys get married? And you don't know. It's a red flag. How come you don't know when you get married? You don't know the month. You don't know the year. They're not saying that you got to know whether it's a Monday or Tuesday or whatever. But you got to know when you get married. If they ask you a question about your mother-in-law, when was the last time you talked to? Oh, they ask these questions not to get personal, but they want to see that there is this connection. They want to see that you guys share the same address. Not that one is at 400. This is just a 400 Atlantic Avenue, and the other partner, the other spouse, lives at 300 Ocean Avenue. Well, no, the people are going to ask why not the same address? Why not the same state? Now, your husband can work out of state and have and he may have a little room somewhere or living by a relative or so forth. Once these things are properly explained, and the officers they're experienced enough, they're trained to know whether to believe it or not. And the point that I'm making again is that people want to ensure that this is a bona fide marriage. That is what they're looking for. And that's why we say always to our clients, and we have a couple, 2 interviews this morning. We wish them all the best. 2 interviews this morning. And what we say to our clients is be honest, be sincere. When the officers ask questions, if you do not understand a question, it's okay to ask, can you please repeat that question? Please repeat it. It's not a crime to ask. Think before you respond. Respond honestly. Give an honest answer. If they ask what you had for breakfast this morning, if you say baigan choka or you say bacon saltfish, that's all they ask you. Just bacon saltfish. Do not give out more information other than what is asked, unless the officer asks, can you elaborate? But you know, they got some folks just go on and on and on and on and on and on. Answer simply the question that they ask. If they ask what you guys had for breakfast this morning, if you're in a separate room or sometimes you sit together, it depends on the officer. And now, if they ask what you had for breakfast, just say baigan choka or bacon saltfish. You answer that. You don't tell bacon saltfish, but me really like that, but because no. We had bacon saltfish this morning, officer. It's delicious. And you're done. It's how you respond to the officers. They're human beings as well. And they're looking for that. They know what they're looking for. And always keep that smile and that pleasantry and so forth, and that professional approach. The other thing that I usually say to my clients, don't wear a lot of cologne. You know, some Guyanese, sometimes, you know, we're guilty of it. Not just Guyanese, West Indians, or people in general. Spray up. It's a distraction. Just a little tip, and you're good to go. Ease up on the big jewelry, the fancy hair, fancy nails. People are entitled to be themselves, don't get me wrong. But don't overdo the do. Don't feel that you got to dress up. You got to dress up in your 3-piece, 4-piece suit. You just dress a nice casual something, and it's okay. It's acceptable. And I say this too, before I move on to some other stuff. I say to clients that the interview starts from the minute you leave your home. The minute you walk through your door, the interview starts. Here is why. Because if you take the bus to go to wherever you're going, you never know. Maybe the office is right there in the bus. If you take the train, maybe the office is right there in the train. When you arrive at your interview location, you don't know who's in the elevator with you. So don't yell at your wife. Don't yell at your husband in the elevator. Ma, fix your damn shirt. Man, this. The interview starts the minute you walk through that door. When you're sitting there waiting for them to call your names, y'all are man and wife. You don't turn so, and she mustn't turn so. You mouth long, she mouth long. The people are watching. Be honest. Do not lie. I say this to all of our clients. Do not lie on your applications. Always be sincere. Always be honest with the questions asked. Now, Annette Cummings is correct. Do not be fake, because they're going to pick that up too. Don't overdo the do, because they will know if you're overdoing the do. Now, let's head back to this here. What they're saying here is nothing new also. They're saying basically that if they find that if they reject or they deny an application, you can possibly be placed on the deportation list, the removal list. This is nothing new. This is to the discretion of the officer. And in most cases, folks are not placed in removal on the removal list or the deportation list. Folks are given a chance to rectify. So if you have a denial, a 485 denial, which is a green card application denial, it is not the end of the world. Because we have had clients come to us with about 2 or 3 denials prior to coming to us, and we were able to fix them. And when I say fix them, it simply means that your applications must be done properly. Leave no room for errors. Ask for extra evidence. It doesn't matter sometimes if you say, well, look, in retrospect, I need 2 more pieces of evidence because I want to cover every single area. Every area we want to cover to make sure that your application stands a good chance and that you get the results. Of course, successful results. Just yesterday, I would say that we have a couple that went in a couple days ago. They did their interview earlier this week. They did their interview, marriage-based. Questions were asked, not a heck of a lot, because the offices go by what are the evidence presented and a properly done application. It makes the office's job easy when you get there. And I notice we still have some text messages coming in with some questions. So the officer jobs become easier once the application is done properly and evidence. So if you have to submit 3 pieces of evidence, what we do here at Ben Shop Consultancy is we ask for 2 extra or 3 extra pieces of relevant documents, mind you. Not irrelevant, relevant documents. Nothing is wrong with having a strong application with a little piece of information, more pieces of evidence. Nothing is wrong with that. It makes the case stronger. It makes the officer's job easier when you get to the interview. And now this client of ours, and we've had several clients who have been successful, and especially over the past 2 weeks. And we say congratulations to them. And so the reason I'm bringing this particular situation up is it goes back to what this new guidance, it's a guidance, it's not a change of law, it's just the guidance from the Trump era. What they're saying is, as long as you have a legitimate petition, a bona fide petition, and you are interviewed and they are satisfied, you will get an approval or an indication that they are willing to approve your case. And in this situation, the husband and wife conducted their interview. It went well. The officer says, okay, there seems to be nothing. Your application's okay. Your evidence okay. We'll make a decision on the case, but I am satisfied. Basically, the officer said. In a matter of 2 to 3 days, the husband and wife got their notification that their case approved. And they did their interviews earlier this week, and they already have an approval. After there is an approval, the next step will be for their green cards to be produced. And by next week, or in less than 2 weeks' time, the spouse will receive her, in this case, her green card and her Social Security. Kudos. Congratulations to those individuals if they are watching. So nothing has changed. Again, I'm using that to say nothing has changed. All the people want is to ensure that there is a bona fide marriage. That's all they want to ensure. I wish to reiterate, do not rush your applications in the system. Do not panic and feel that rushing an application in the system is the solution. Rushing an application is not the solution. And we always say to our clients, getting the application done properly is the best solution, because rushing an application to get an application in the system does not necessarily save an individual from being placed on a removal list or deportation. It might be helpful, but it doesn't 100% save an individual. So if you have someone that's doing your application or applications for you, you would want that application to be done properly. And oftentimes, mistakes are made when those applications are rushed. Patience is what we say to our clients. Be patient. Be extra patient, and you will get the results that you so deserve. Now, someone sent a message with regards to how do they detect a fraudulent application. Well, fair enough. They wouldn't look at an application and say that X, Y, or Z application is fraudulent. What they look for is the evidence, and there must be consistency. You cannot be inconsistent. You cannot have one thing on the application, and then when you go in for the interview, you say something else. Nope. You've got to be consistent, you've got to be honest, and you've got to present yourselves as man and wife. Now, in the case with a marriage-based petition, as I promised to be on just for a half hour, but a marriage-based petition, say for example, a wife petitions for her husband. She is a US citizen. Her husband came up on a visitor's visa and he decides to stay in America. The law allows the wife to sponsor the husband, file the form 485. It is called the adjustment of status, to have that husband adjust his status. And you're signaling to USCIS that your husband is here or your wife is here and you want to adjust his or her status. In order for someone's status to be adjusted almost immediately after the I-130 petition, the petitioner has to be a US citizen. Has to. You cannot be a green card holder, file for a petition, an I-130 petition for your wife or your husband, or your underage child, and then at the same time file your form 485 to adjust the status. USCIS will reject that because there's no immediate entitlement for adjustment of status if you, the petitioner, if you file and you're a green card holder and you file for your relatives, there's no priority there at all. However, if you're a US citizen and you file for your wife and she's here in the United States, you can adjust her status almost immediately. You can file also for a work authorization card for your spouse, but you've got to be a US citizen. Now, the other question that folks have been asking, can you, if you're a green card holder and you file for your wife and there's just that one I-130, can you file for work authorization? No, you cannot file for work authorization. There's certain things that you can do in terms of filing for a work authorization. If you're here, let's say, for example, in the case with some folks, they ask, it's a ticklish subject, because if you're a green card holder and you file for your wife, there's no immediate remedy to that. And so it's ticklish if you're filing for, you just cannot just go and file for work authorization just like that. It's very ticklish, so be very careful. If you send in the application, it's going to be rejected. Now, unless you have an employer who's willing to sponsor you, then the question with overstaying and all these things becomes something that you should be concerned about. But I'm not here to touch on that at this point. Now, back to the adjustment of status applications from a US citizen. If you are a US citizen, let's say, for example, Annette Cummings is a US citizen and she decides to marry. Let me see who she can marry on this live here. Um, Say she decides to marry Gully God. She feels sorry and she marries Gully God. Gully God is over here on a visitor's visa. She marries him. Gully God has children, and 4 children he has. And those kids are under the age of 18 when they get married. Once they're under the age of 18, his wife, who happens to be, in this case, we give him a wife, Annette Cummings is his wife. Annette Cummings, the US citizen, and mind you, this is just an example I'm using here, can file for her stepchildren. Because when they got married, when she got married to Gully God, the kids were under the age of 18. So legally, for the purpose of filing and getting USCIS benefits, Annette can file for her stepkids. However, her stepkids, in most cases, USCIS will say, we need to ensure that Gully God gets through first. That's the process. Gully God gets through, and then everything falls into place. The stepchildren, all 4 of his stepchildren, can also adjust their status and get through. That is just the process. In terms of citizenship, before we go, they are planning on asking more questions. The Trump administration believes that the questions are very simple. Now, some people may disagree. Some people may argue that the questions aren't simple, because what they do is they ask about 6 or 7 questions, maybe more. And if you don't answer a couple of those questions, that's it. But if you fail your interview on the first try, you get an extra try. You get to go back again. Now, I'm not sure if the Trump administration may want to touch on that. You know, they may say you get 1 shot at it. But currently the law says you have two shots. So if you fail the first time, you can return at a later date that they will schedule you. You can go and get a second shot at the questions in order to become a US citizen. Now, the Trump administration is saying, hey, wait a minute. Those questions are too easy. It's too simple. We want to make it a little more difficult. Now, that's going to be problematic for some folks, because if it isn't now as easy as it is for most people, some people still find it to be difficult. And so we have not had any problems with folks not being able to pass. Now, they ask you some questions, civil questions, and they ask you to write a little small sentence. For example, at your citizenship interview, they may ask you to write, who lives in the White House? Who lives in the White House? They ask, who lives in the White House? Just to write that, somebody put Trump. Trump lives in the White House. Now, if you listen to the question, that's not what they're asking. Who lives in the White House? Can you write who lives in the White House? So you have to write who lives in the White House. They want to ensure that you're able to write. They want to ensure that you're able to read and write. And so even with your citizenship interviews, the minute the officer walks up to you and say, good morning or good afternoon, the interview starts right there and then. How you respond to them. And as you go into that office and you sit and they continue to question you and so forth, and always be polite, and listen to the questions. If you don't understand, it's okay to say, can you repeat, please? Be honest in your interviews. If you have any arrests, any convictions or whatever, Be honest. Get your dispositions, get your stuff ready to show to them, because almost in every cases, 99.9% of times, they have everything in front of them. Do not lie about anything. Now, let me say this to you guys. I've had clients with 10, 15 arrests, some with multiple convictions. Now, depending also. And some people are afraid, oh, people have gotten through. People have gotten through. Minor offenses and all these different things. And even not so minor offenses. Now, there are some things that they are very, very know about, murders and some other crimes. But majority of folks who have come through to us and they have had arrests, they have had convictions, whether it's marijuana, whatever it is, and this and that or whatever, they have gotten through. So the point that I'm making, do not be afraid to send your applications in because maybe you jumped the turnstile, or maybe you were picked up for marijuana and this and that or whatever. They just want to know exactly that you're being truthful in your applications. Do not allow a couple of arrests or an arrest or whatever, a conviction for marijuana or whatever, to prevent you from sending your applications in. All they want is your honesty. They know that mistakes are oftentimes made, but they're looking for honesty, and it's up to the discretion of the officer whether to say yes or no. And we have had our experiences here at Benshop Immigration Consultancy with people, as I've mentioned. One particular guy had about 12 to 15 arrests and several convictions. And guess what? He got his citizenship. So do not be afraid. Make that first step. Make that move. If you have any other questions, then I'll be more than happy to. But we'll take a quick break. Yeah, so welcome back. Welcome back. This is just basically an update we'll give you guys. And again, on the recent news about petitions, nothing to panic about. If you have a marriage petition that you have pending, there's nothing to panic about. If you have a marriage petition that probably you want to get done, there is nothing to panic about. All the people are looking for is genuine petitions. That's all they're looking for. And for the petitions to be done properly and to ensure the evidence are pretty much convincing. That's what they're looking for. They're not looking for the entire system to be flooded with applications that are questionable. And so do not panic. Folks have been calling and asking if that's it for them. No. Do not panic. Nothing has changed, really. All they will be doing is scrutinizing these applications. That's why it's important that those applications are done properly. And patience sometimes pays off. We have seen all of our applications, all of our clients successful. And those who still have applications pending, we want the best for them. Now, let me say this. Some of you might not be surprised. When someone comes to get an application or applications done, we say to them, we can just advise them, be very private about your applications. Be very private about your immigration situation. And do not run around to broadcast to every Tom, Dick, and Harry that you have your application and it's pending, and that your husband just sending your application or your wife just sending your applications. Here is this thing here that is pretty troubling. There are some friends, some family members, and in some cases, even your spouse would report you to ICE, would call up and say to ICE, say to immigration, whether they're pelting a lash, whether they're being malicious or whatever. Sometimes all it takes is one phone call or two phone calls, but sometimes one phone call. But the people, the officers know malicious phone calls from non-malicious phone call, but they have to treat all phone calls as though they're not malicious. And so even members within your own family circle can be vindictive towards you. Even friends can be vindictive towards you. And in some cases, if there's a sweet man or a sweet woman, can also be vindictive towards you during your immigration process. We have seen and heard of some stories that are so troubling that we say to our clients, when you're doing your applications, be very, very quiet about it. That's all. Be extra, extra careful and quiet. Do not broadcast it to everybody, because you may end up broadcasting your situation to the wrong people. I have heard and seen some very sad stories where even wives are calling up on their husbands. Even husbands are calling up on their wives. Even sweet women calling in most cases maliciously. But be careful. That's all. Just be careful. That's all for now. And I just want to congratulate those who are successful. And we have a client this morning, and we have another client this afternoon who are in for their interviews, and we wish them all the best. And those who have recently, about 4 clients or so, have gotten their citizenship this week, congratulations to them. And yesterday we've had another one. The day before we've had 2, and on Monday I believe 1. And so to these folks, congratulations. Once it's a sign that says we placed you in line for your oath of ceremony, and we'll send you a notice. That is after they passed their citizenship exams and they are now placed in line to be sworn in. We had a client yesterday who did their interview, and they were issued their certificate, sworn in and issued their certificate on the dot. And we say congratulations to all of our clients. And one of the things we reiterate, get your applications done properly, get all of your evidence in place, ensure that everything is in place, it's done properly. Do not lose cool, do not run out of patience, because at the end of the day, guess what? It matters. When you rush an application in the system because of frustration, it leads to errors. Be patient, guys. If you have any questions, or if you have your application that needs to be done, remember, we take our time, we get it done, and we get you the results that you deserve, which is an approval. What we look for and what the officers look for is authentic petitions. God bless you. And thank you all so much. Again, do not panic. If you have legitimate petitions, if you have a bona fide marriage, um, we are not questioning people whether their marriage fake or not fake. You have to know whether your marriage is fake or not fake. What we say to you is you have to present a bona fide application petition. You have to have a bona fide marriage. That is what we say. So when you come to us with a bona fide marriage, then we can take you down the path of successful outcome. We can't guarantee you a successful outcome, but we will take you down the path of a successful outcome. You can put two and two together. We want you to succeed, but you have to play your role. And when we're done with your applications, guess what? We prepare your applications, but we can't walk into the interview there with you and answer the questions. People want you guys, husband and wife, to answer those questions. It's all up to you from there on. Do not be nervous. Say a little prayer, and you will see miracles will work. A lot of you are frustrated. We know that. A lot of you want your documents. We know that. Do it the right way. Follow the laws. You will get the results you so deserve. God bless you. And thank you all. Again, do not panic.